and welcome to Un Poquito Podcast. First try, guys. We did it. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm Dominic Angel. We got Ryan Reyes in the house. Josh the American, keeping our border strong. Fucking Ricky Macias. He's got glasses on. And we got a special guest today, y'all. Thank you.
Because you rhymed.
I did. I'm pretty good at this, guys. I'm like so just naturally raw town, you know?
Hi, I'm Ray Camacho.
Ray Camacho's in the house. Punk Monk Ray. Hit him up on TikTok. Hit him up on Instagram. He's the creative director of Punk Talk.
Not even close. No, because a lot of people are doing way more on Punk Talk. I came back to do a TikTok, and just because my brain was occupied with it.
This is a good bit.
And thank you. I appreciate that. And then that was that. And like, someone literally said in the comments, like, you've been gone for so long and this is what you decide to come up with. And I'm like,
well worth it, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It inspired me to repost my Jerry Only Seinfeld bit.
That's such a good bit.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I just like playing with words too.
I'm so glad Ray's here because every time I bring up punk music or punk, I felt like I was a fucking poser for a long time because I was like, I like punk, but I don't really know if I'm like about the punk scene.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are you happy with yourself?
I'm allergic to your bullshit.
That was a dumb joke. But now it's like I'll bring up like punk stuff and then everybody's like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. Like nobody wants to talk about it with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I'm sorry. I was just never in that scene.
That's how we met on TikTok.
Yeah.
Was like, I don't know who started following who, but I guess we just started showing up on each other's pages.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hell yeah, punk. You were doing, okay, so you do something that's really cool. Or you were doing.
Well, I was doing so.
Yeah.
I would just like take music and I would pair it with coffee or whatever like that. And funny enough, you asked me to pair a coffee with Algiers.
Yeah.
And then Algiers comments like months later.
Really?
They're like, yes, they legit. There's a comment. I can't believe I'm talking about TikTok right now. I'm 35 years old. What am I doing? Like, what am I doing with my life? No, but like they legit. Like, thank you for this pairing. And I was like, wait, what the heck? Whoa! Like, I don't know. It was kind of cool for like they're just like, thank you for doing that. And I was.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Algiers is sick.
Great.
They're super dope. I think I heard about them. They did an interview on the radio or something. What's up?
What coffee did you pair?
Oh, right.
Oh,
It was a cold brew.
it was a cold brew, but it was a
Jack.
it was a triple espresso cold brew made from, I want to say it was like, oh god, I can't remember the name of the brand. It's called like Black Ship or something like that. I'd have to like go and double check on it. But yeah, I was legitimately so tired that morning too. And I start off with just being like, tired, so very, very tired. And I sound so serious and stuff. And then Algiers is playing in the background. And it almost sounds like, when I was like reflecting on it, I'm like, this looks like a car commercial or something, or like, this is too dark and serious. This does not feel like me right now.
It did. Well, I mean, to be fair, Algiers is not like in your wheelhouse. Like it was a totally different sound.
Yeah.
Because you usually do like hardcore and like grindcore
yeah.
and stuff. And so, but it was like, I remember, dude, I waited a whole fucking year to like send you that. Because I was like,
funny.
As soon as I saw that you were doing those like pairings, I was like, I gotta see what this fool thinks about Algiers.
Yeah, I like it a lot because it reminds me of Zeal and Ardor. Zeal and Ardor is like a black metal band that mixes like gospel, spiritual,
right,
kind of stuff. Great band, and I brought it up to a buddy of mine. I was like, hey, has this band toured with Algiers? And apparently they did like a one-off tour like years ago. But yeah, I was like, oh man, I would have loved to see that. That would have been so cool to see.
I think they're like they really only do like European shows from what I've seen. It's like they're pretty big in Europe.
Yeah, that makes sense because I listen to that like this would probably go better in Europe,
No, I was just thinking it'd be funny if you did a week dedicated to, like a month dedicated to goth music, and then every week it's just black coffee.
That's funny. I was like, goth music isn't, and then that was the joke.
yeah, black coffee. That's it. No mixing out with anything else. But I listened to that full album too. This is a great album.
It's a great. Their debut album is fucking sick.
Yeah, and then they recently came out with was it this year or last year? They came out with new stuff, and they got like Zach De La Rocha on it.
Yeah.
I was
that
like,
was
what?
Yeah.
He's down. Get out of
Yeah.
here. That's what's up.
Do you drink coffee and it reminds you of a band, or do you listen to a band and you're like, this is very cappuccino? I don't know.
Yes. Like it depends. It just kind of clicks. Yeah. Or like I'll have the coffee and I'm like, I know exactly what I want to listen to when I'm drinking this. Or the other way around, it's like I'm listening to something. I'm like, I know exactly. I'm listening to this. I'm like, I know what coffee I want to drink.
You know, I totally relate to that because I have a playlist on my Spotify called "Songs to Eat Sandwiches To."
You do not.
I do. You can check it right now. No, but the inspiration for the playlist is like it's music that you would find at like it's like a day. It's like a lazy Sunday. You're like, I'm gonna treat myself. I'm gonna walk to the coffee shop. I'm gonna go get a sandwich, and it's like this is music that you would hear in like your favorite sandwich place. It's like the atmosphere.
I totally understand because it's like that delicatessen.
Yeah.
Kind of.
But it's like the music that I would want to hear in like a cool, hip, like Donut Man or what's the Donut Friend? Where
Donut
it's like,
Friend.
oh, they're all punk themed and everything's like.
You know how trash I am? I was like, you know what would really accentuate that feeling? Like, which Dorito would you put in your sandwich for that song, for that band?
Dog, I'm a Lay's guy if I'm gonna put.
I feel
Chips
that.
big.
I
Or
feel
like
that.
lazy, pick better chips.
First, no, you guys, I have such strong opinions about what you're gonna get me into a fucking frenzy right now. You don't put the only flavored chips you put in the sandwich are like jalapeno flavor or some type of spice. You put base flavor like plain chips because you're doing it for the crunch. You're doing it for the salt. Don't fucking fuck it up by putting Dorito nacho cheese.
You ever get like a deli Italian and you put some salt and vinegar chips in there?
Okay, you're making good points right now.
But I will say I also have weird combos. Like I go to Subway, I get a meatball sub with mozzarella cheese and then pickles and jalapenos, and then shove it full of hot Cheetos.
You're really upsetting me right now.
But that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why, but the
It's called the
jalapeno.
Gut Buster. No,
The jalapeno with what else did you mention?
jalapeno with pickles.
I don't know why, but that makes sense. With mustard?
No,
Ah, dude,
but
I do
I'm
the
down to
mustard.
try it.
I do the mustard.
I can't relate.
He just gets mustard.
Ooh.
Just 2 loaves of bread.
That's a struggle and a half, Neil.
That sounds like a.
Pringles?
Pickle chips?
Pickle chips.
Oh.
Okay, but that,
Wait, so are those pickle flavored chips or are those dried pickles?
Chips flavored as pickles.
Because they make both. In Canada, they have like pickle chips, but they're pickles.
Ralph
If
Waldo
you're gonna do
pickle
that, you go
chips?
jalapeno chips. Have you had the jalapeno crunchy chip things?
Yeah.
Like Miss Vicky's.
Oh, damn. We got derailed, but
I got a strong opinion. We're gonna do a whole series on sandwiches.
Okay.
I wanted to say, do you think at some point you could pick a coffee for our show?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Un poquito. Yeah, I got you. I
feel
can't,
like-
I don't got one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out because
Once it's during the show, you know what I mean? You can be like,
yeah,
"Got it now."
yeah.
Even if like you, because this is you have time because this is gonna come out later. Like this is gonna come out in September.
Oh, okay, cool.
So like you'll have that time. You can send it to us and we'll add it in.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I feel like I
Yeah.
know what coffee.
Yeah.
are.
What do you what? Go for it.
Like,
Well, you can't think about it now.
no, I
you
was
made it
saying-
sound like you had one loaded.
I was
like,
debating between like a shot of espresso or a cold
Same.
brew. I feel like
Same.
we're something with a shot of espresso in it.
Also, it goes.
actually, that makes a lot. That's good.
Wow.
That's good because it's like it's 2 espressos, but it's watered down.
But it's that. What's that one?
It was black, and then just got darker, or it just got lighter and lighter, and then
What's
done.
that espresso brand you used to
the
buy?
appropriation. Of,
Exactly.
of coffee.
Yeah. You know what? It would be a café con leche. That's it.
That's only like that coffee with the shot of espresso and like cream in it.
That's it.
Damn.
It's whitewashed.
Americana is so funny. It's just it's like watered down. Like we're not full Americans. We're not full Mexicans. Just watered down.
There's something in between.
Just the Edward James Olmos of coffee.
Coffees.
I think that's it. I think that would be like a café con leche. Yeah.
Dope.
I would use almond milk personally, but that's me.
No, I feel you.
Yeah.
I have some of
Oh,
those
that's right.
dairy
You're
struggles.
vegan.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
No, I have a follow up. I just don't know if you guys did.
No, go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious because our little brother used to be vegan. He recently stopped, but he's trying to start again. And it's just like it gets for him. It got exhausting because he lives in a
Food desert.
No, not. I
no,
mean,
yes and no. He lives in like
a desert.
a more rural area. Everyone likes to barbecue. Stater Brothers is like huge out there. Like, there's not a lot of options for him.
He's just got iceberg.
I'm so sorry. I had looking at my throat. It was affecting my voice. But I was curious, how long have you been vegan?
I went vegan like 29, 30. I'm 35 now, so this is 5-6 years. I was vegetarian before that, so for just a few years. I think I went vegetarian like 27, 28. Yeah.
That's
So-
crazy. That's like around the same time he did.
That's
Wait,
wild.
was it because of that chicken documentary?
Not even close.
Okay.
No.
Because I
No.
knew a lot of people that went vegan after watching that chicken documentary.
No, it wasn't that at all. No, it was a mixture of like, because I'd been around the hardcore and punk scene for years, but I never just dabbled in. I never like had someone around me just like influencing me on that until one day, like my buddy, he was like vegetarian. He started dating someone who was vegan, and then he goes vegan. And we're just hanging out all the time, and they're just like, "Have you tried this? Have you tried this?" I'm like, "No." And then on top of that, I used to be a youth minister,
Right.
and I like in the Catholic Church, and for one year, I'm like, I'm not gonna eat. I'm giving up meat for Lent,
Right.
and then it just stuck, and then. The next year, this one girl, she was like, "You sound so bougie. You sound so like you go to all these places, you hang out with all these people. Are you gonna go?" She like challenged me. She's like, "You're all about animal rights and stuff, but you're like not about it." I'm like, "All right, bet I'll go vegan." And I did. And I had like some stuff that were made out of like animal material, like leather and stuff like that. And I gave it all away. I was like, I'm about this. I'm just going to give this all away and stuff like that. And it just stuck. I gave up all animal products for Lent, and then it just stuck with me. Yeah.
Spite's a good motivator.
Being vegan out of spite is great.
Yeah.
Because you're still trying to murder something.
It's so funny to come up to somebody to be like, "You're all about animal rights." Ooh.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because you're bringing up a lot that I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about these things, but like, I'm interested. So like, I feel like one of the things that drew me to like, I was like, oh, I want to be this fool's friend, was because like we both like share a connection with punk.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're more like, I'm more into like skate punk.
Yeah.
And like you're more into like the hardcore grindcore scene, like
Yeah.
a little bit heavier stuff. It's always interesting, but like I always thought it's funny because like I feel like there's a lot, like people make fun of like hardcore punk because there are a lot of like straight edge,
Yeah.
vegan, like it's it's like the healthy punks, like
Yeah.
they're all like healthy and like ethical.
Yeah.
There
was a
Many Christians.
bro, there was a huge contingent of Christian hardcore and metalcore for years, but it was so underground.
One of my
Yeah.
friends would go to hardcore shows, they'd go to churches.
Yeah, they're at churches.
Yeah.
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 It's crazy. Like, for God.
Yeah. A mosh for God.
Wasn't there like
Contactless
Is that where that comes from? The whole like circle kicks and shit.
Oh
like,
no, that's been a staple of like the hardcore scene since time immemorial. Like, yeah, people be jumping, people be swinging, people be karate, crowd killing,
dude,
left and right.
We're gonna differ on this
Okay.
because I saw your post about crowd killing.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a fan of crowd killing.
I'm
I'm like against it.
What is that?
You want to explain?
Well, crowd killing is basically you have the crowd, and there are obviously people outside of the border of the mosh pit, like, who don't want to be hit, so they're like away from it, and then you have these people in the pit that are just like going buck wild crazy, swinging, going left and right, and then they decide to go to the outskirts of the pit and far out of the pit to just like swing on some person, just because it's like that's doing, yeah.
They basically mosh with people who are like, I'm not gonna mosh.
Yeah, and they still, yeah. I'm more of a, because I'm more of just like I know it's because I have like a mixed feeling about it, because like it sucks because I'm also a photographer, so I'm like I'm taking hits, I'm taking a swing here and there. I remember being at Sound and Fury last year and I had my camera and I'm just like taking a picture, and this one fool just like comes up, grabs me and just like wham 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 wham, and then he just walks away, and I'm like, that didn't even hurt. Like, what the... And it's just one of those things where... And that happened to me all the time growing up. Like, someone just, like, does a thing, and I'm like, oh, it looks, like, brutal, but some people are just kind of, like, not... They're kind of, like... Yeah, they're pulling their punches. Yeah, they're just kind of...
Don't do that are assholes.
Yeah.
Like cholos with their crew and shit.
There's oh bro, don't even get me started on mosh crews, because that's a whole different, yeah. But like because in my experience it's just kind of like I know what I'm getting myself into when I walk into this space, and there are gonna be people who are just gonna do it. And the thing is like, it is hardcore is definitely like a self-cleaning oven. It'll take care of itself, because there are people who are just gonna be like, no, that guy's out. I've seen people like they're swinging, they're going buck wild crazy, and then they're just not showing up anymore, and that's kind of like, oh, they got called out, and so they were
Beat up in the parking lot.
no, for real. It's like, and yeah, no, and they'll be like, you're gone. Like, I've seen people just like flat out just, I'm looking, and then you see what's up.
I was just thinking, that's not a punk, that's a prick.
No, for real, yeah. And then I've seen people just like they're the show's going on, and then someone sees off in the distance. I'll just watch some some people, and they're like, "What's that?" And then they just rush, and then
like lifeguards.
Yeah, and then they come back, and I'm like, "What just happened?"
So my thing is like, I don't like the idea of crowd killing where people are like, when they fucking slam themselves into the border of the pit, and it's like, because the thing is like, yeah, I know it's gonna happen. I know I can get roughed up at a show.
Yeah.
And I mosh.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. Fuck, dude. When I was 27 or retired from moshing,
Yeah.
I went to a distiller's show.
Yeah.
And I got a Charlie horse in the pit, and I had to be escorted out. And I was like, I'm done. I can't.
Charlie horse.
Like paintball, you just raise your hand up. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Punk died that day.
Yeah.
Dude.
I need uppies.
That reminds me of that one band. We saw him. I want to say by now it's been 10 years, but it was like the first punk show I ever been to because of you. It was at the Smell.
Oh, we saw This Bike Is a Pipe Bomb.
Yes.
Wow, I love that band.
Yeah,
love
but
that
it
band.
reminded me of like, because they talk about it a lot when I've seen their interviews, because they're older now. They formed,
yeah.
they
They're like
formed
an
like in their
iconic, like-
mid 40s.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, like how much, they joke about it, but like how much prep they have to do to actually like do a punk show. Like they're putting earbuds in, they're putting like pads on, and like arthritis, like Ben gave for arthritis and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's funny, but it's also they're really cool. I was like, literally, that was the first and only show I'd ever been to, and I've been listening to them since then.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That's infamous folk punk band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Planet X Records. Woo, I think Planet X. Correct me.
I don't know enough
Yeah.
about the record.
Yeah.
I thought literally this is why I feel like I'm a poser a lot of the time because I'm like the only record label I know as like a punk label is Hellcat,
Yeah.
and so I'm like,
Yeah.
but that's like the genres that like most of the bands that I listen to. It's funny because I found out about them independently, and it just turns out that they were like all on Hellcat because like Hellcat is one of the worst like and types of the scene that they cultivated.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets a little that's the thing is like, you know, broad stroke here. It's like there's a lot of cool stuff that comes out of the scene. There's also a lot of bad stuff that comes out that, you know, is
This Bike is a Pipe Bomb was on Ghost Meat Records, Planet X Records, and No Idea Records.
Oh, No Idea. I remember No Idea.
Who's
Yeah.
on that?
I have no idea.
This is one of the things I wanted to because look, we brought Ray here because he's an ethical guy. He's
Ooh.
studied theology. He's a youth minister.
I was.
He's vegan.
Was
Definitely not anymore.
Vegan,
Yeah.
hardcore, straight edge. So everybody's heard the stories about like Sid Vicious. Not
Sure.
Sid Vicious. Was it Johnny Rotten? Like
Sure.
becoming a fucking conservative. Like all
Sure.
of these punks becoming conservative and like a lot of. I don't know if you know who U.S. Bombs are.
I do.
Okay, so
Yeah,
like
I
I recently found out that Dwayne Peters is like, well, first of all, he's like had a traumatic brain head injury.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's kind of like, he'll still put out videos where he's like talking about supporting Trump and all this stuff. So I found that video and I kind of just like dug deep and I watched there's a documentary about Dwayne Peters. So Dwayne Peters was, for people that don't know, he was like, before Tony Hawk, he was the number one skateboarder in like, before skateboarding became like a huge thing.
Yeah.
I was under that goddamn 900.
No,
Yeah.
this was way before even that.
No, yeah. No, I saw, and you're referring to the Tony Hawk documentary kind of?
No, there's specifically a Dwayne Peters documentary, and it's kind of like Tony Hawk was in it. He talks
Yeah.
about his time of like knowing, like of them coming up, because Tony Hawk was the second generation of skateboarding, like that when skateboarding really took off. Because before that, it was kind of just like an underground niche thing that it just wasn't a popularized sport.
And then he came out with Underground 2.
Good soundtrack.
My point is, so like, but Dwayne Peters was punk. Like he was all about punk shit, even at a young age. But I was watching this, and I was like, they were talking about, oh, he was a crazy guy. He used to fucking draw a swastika on the side of his head. He was punk, and I heard that. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's just this is the like, and I try to stay out of it, but I also get sucked in because it's like you're around it, or like they're also kind of like, but there's also the drama behind it too. It's like you're around it. I know it's juicy, you know. It's problematic people, like they're all around, and that goes back to like what I mean is like it's a self-cleaning oven. We eventually like just kind of like that guy's, we're not paying it. Like, I mean, what's his name? Stizza from Leftover Crack and
right,
yeah, and it's so funny. It's like news comes out and everyone's like, that guy's been problematic. We've all known like it's just, we're kind of just like, yeah, get him out of here. But I had no idea about Dwayne Peters. That kind of makes sense though. Like, well, small credential part. I own Dwayne Peters shoes.
Yeah, I used to have Dwayne Peters shoes.
Skate shoes back in the day. I still have the I don't have those shoes anymore, but I still have the shoebox.
Right.
Because it has all my Magic the Gathering cards in it. I kept it for that long.
Hilarious.
I remember it was a big deal for me because I'm now officially punk. I was like 18. I had Dwayne Peters shoes, Dickie shorts, and I was wearing a shirt, and it was The Damned. I'm like, this is me. This is who I am.
Now I'm gonna hide my true self. The Magic the Gathering cards.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Magic the Gathering and crust punk and doom metal and punk in general, like.
Huge crossover.
Oh, huge crossover. I'd be in Pasadena trying to sell some cards, and I see these two crust punks just hanging out, and they bought a box together, and they're trying to see what rares they got and whatever like that. There's a huge crossover. I got into an argument with like there was a crust punks that also rap. And it's something. I'll say that much. But like
punk and rap were pretty close.
oh, definitely.
I don't
yeah.
know why I know that this is not the same genre, but I immediately thought of Korn, that one song where he's like,
Scatting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I got in arguments on Facebook with a crust punk about the Magic the Gathering league and like who's not like who should be in the league right now, who should
That's
and who
so
is
loud.
yeah, it was huge dorks.
He just
Huge.
plays a mill deck. That's not even playing the game.
I mean, face it, I just want to confirm. Can you explain what crust punk is to the fans?
Crust punk is like if you see that kid with like a buttload of patches and it looks like he hasn't taken a shower or they look like they haven't taken a shower in a while, that's essentially crust punk. I'm probably butchering
They
that.
keep their it's a whole thing. There's a culture around the pants.
Oh yeah.
About like they fucking they get a pair of pants and they're like, these are gonna be my crust pants, and then they like buy patches, they buy fabric to like stitch them up. They always wear them. They don't wash them.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I knew someone, one of like my best friend in high school, her cousin was crust punk.
Yeah.
And every time we hung out, it was just like difficult.
Yeah, because they smell.
What's all the whole thing about?
I also remember this funny story. There's this other dude who was like, he had a crush on that girl, so he pretended, or he was kind of a poser, but suddenly he was crust punk. He wasn't showering anymore, and he was doing the thing. But he had collected so many patches that at one point he was just wearing a pants made of patches.
Yeah.
And straight up one day, because he was a heavier guy, this is not his fault. But what happened was out of nowhere. He was talking to someone, and the pants just exploded, and he was ass naked in front of everybody. Oh.
When being a poser goes wrong.
The internet describes it as the DIY fashion, akin to Mad Max.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I guess.
yeah.
Well, that's where the whole thing about like, I feel like for myself, what draws me to punk music and what drew me to punk music as a kid when I first started listening to it was like, yeah, I do like a lot of the political stuff. I do like the anti-establishment stuff. But for me, the biggest thing about it was community, like camaraderie and underdogs shit. Like,
yeah.
so it's one of those things where it's like these things are in front of my face. Like when I learned about the Dwayne Peters swastika stuff, I didn't realize like a lot of his songs are nationalist. Like
Yeah.
U.S. Bomb songs are like, a lot of them are super like nationalist.
I haven't listened to U.S. Bombs in years.
Yeah,
and
I
was
revisited a lot of them and I was like, there's a song called U.S. of Hate that I was like, this song fucking rocks. Like I love this song. It's all just about hating on
Their
every
name's
other
US
country.
Bombs,
Yeah,
like,
so I was like, who would've
for
thought they
talking.
were-
Well, because in my head I'm like U.S. Bomb.
No, I
it's
hear what-
anti-establishment. It's like it's like an ironic.
US.
Yeah, but it's like it's an ironic thing. It's like
But that's like the whole thing about punk is like it's supposed to be like tongue in cheek. It's supposed to be provocative. Dead
Right.
Kennedys, U.S. bombs.
Right. Like calling out the government for being a military state.
Yeah, or like because I remember his other band, Die Huns or D Huns.
It was the
That's-
Huns and then Die Huns.
Yeah, I don't know, and I mean I haven't listened to that band in years either. So like I can only imagine it's like, problematic or whatever like that. But yeah, like that's. For some weird reason, it makes sense to me that a lot of these old punks have just become like Trump supporters, only because like there's a part of like I guess you can say the punk mentality is question everything. Like that's what got me really invested, and that's why I went on to higher learning. I was like I was a huge supporter of Bad Religion and Greg Graffin, that's who it was. Okay, so because he's got a PhD in zoology, I believe. Yeah,
Right.
You see, homeboy is smart. Homeboy is smart. Like, but I was like, when I was going to school, and I was gonna sound weird when I was going to school and I was like studying religion and theology and all that. I was listening to their music, and it was kind of like inspiring me to like create arguments in my head about like where they're coming from and what I would argue either against or for whatever they're singing about. But it was all stemming from a place of like question everything, but without like the critical thinking skills. That philosophy of question everything like you have people who have critical thinking skills, like who've developed them over
Right.
time in a space that would help cultivate that in a, I guess in a way where it's like it. I don't want to say the word safe, but like it's sharp. You know, it's the tool is like very useful, and then you
Right.
have people who think that are critical thinking, that have good critical thinking skills, and that's where you get like a Dwayne Peters who's like, I questioned everything to the point where now I'm a Trump supporter and QAnon and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, well, didn't you read the look up? Just look it up online. I'm like,
And
I
they're-
did, and the resources, the website is really questionable.
Well, they're like, "Fuck you! I'm not gonna do what you tell me." Like, it's
Yeah.
but it's like there was a tweet about how like conservatives love Rage Against the Machine, but they thought the machine was their parents. Like, it's like there was a lot of punks that are in that. That's the crazy thing to me is like I feel like a poser, and I'm not even. I like punk and I like punk culture. I don't claim myself as a punk because of that, but I'm always like, these fools are the real fucking posers. Like, they're in the scene, like they're heavy in the scene, but they're like, oh, you just like to fucking get drunk and punch people and like not take a shower and like you just like upsetting people.
Well, yeah. So that was me because like I'm because I drank a lot growing up in the punk scene. Like I drank a lot, I smoked some weed, you know, smoked cigarettes. I thought it was cool. I was attracted to the danger of it all, and
Right.
because I'm not because you said earlier. I was straight edge. Like I don't claim straight edge. I just stopped drinking, stopped doing drugs like
Right.
years ago. Just probably better like to say like I'm sober than.
Okay.
But like I funny enough, when I was growing up, I'd hear bands like Youth of Today, Minor Threat, you know, Straight Edge. I support a lot of straight edge bands. Like Raw Brigade is a straight edge band because I'm attracted, especially at an older age, where I'm just like I'm trying to actually like be more upstanding and be a better influence and have that positive influence on me. Because back then I was already surrounded by like, because I was raised in the Catholic Church. My dad was a deacon in the Catholic Church, so I had like, you know, I had to perform a certain way. I had to be like this person, and then.
Right.
But I'm attracted to danger. It's like, oh, dude, this is punk. It's crazy. There's people lighting shit on fire and like, you know, people stomping an American flag and stuff. And like, I don't know what any this is like. Anarchy in the UK. Yeah, dude. Sure, I'm a 17-year-old in the U.S. I have no idea what that means, but like, sure, I'm gonna go for that, you know. And then soon enough, I'm like in a pit and someone's lighting fireworks in the pit in a backyard show in Pacoima. I'm just like, this is I want to be a part of this.
I mean,
you know?
it is fun.
Yeah. So it was anarchy in the sense of like. It was just, I'm in it for the chaos. I'm a
Right.
teenager and I just want to be dumb. You know, it wasn't until years later where like, I like the things that you're talking about. I am attracted to the unity, the community, the positive reinforcement, like being positive and being of better service to other people and the community around you. And I'm now attracted to that, but it took me decades to get there.
Yeah, the sober and the straight edge bands. I guess I never understood it. It's like because I didn't really start drinking until after high school. I was still under 21 but it's like in school I didn't drink, I didn't smoke weed.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do any of that. But at the same time I was like, why are these people straight edge? Like I was like, it was like it's just not my time to do that yet. And then when I did get into it, I did get into it a lot.
Yeah.
But it was like I've heard a couple people. Chris Estrada was one of them. He's really into punk, and I forget who else. There was another interview or podcast where somebody was talking about like hardcore and like sober people and straight edge people in hardcore, and a lot of these like big bands. Like somebody was saying how like it was cool seeing this huge hardcore band, and they're like it's like more hardcore to be sober. Because it's like, this is just me.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, I'm aware I'm in total control of myself, and I'm like just as like hardcore without like any assistance.
Yeah.
And then other people like the punk mindset was like, I'm not gonna fucking drink alcohol or smoke cigarettes because that gives power to the man. Like that, like that's like giving up my strength. So like all my strength is in my like taking care of myself and being mentally like sharp.
Yeah. Yeah, that will, and it's funny because, and this also played into an influence of me like wanting to stop drinking and doing drugs and all that and that lifestyle. So I'm in grad school, and I had a professor who taught Hinduism and pop culture. And she's like, hey, do you want to teach a class? And I go, sure. Produced a whole lecture, and I started off with the Circle Jerks, Wasted. And, you know, and it's just talking about like getting fucked up, getting high, whatever like that. And just, you know, wasted. And I compared that to Minor Threats, Straight Edge, and just kind of making a historical context. Like, okay, so you have one end of the spectrum of the punk culture. They're just like, we're just in it to get fucked up and get high and go crazy. We're in it for the can. And then you have the other ones where like, because the idea of punk was just like, we're going to be anti this culture.
Right.
So we're going to do it our way. And so the step above for Straight Edge was to be like, oh, okay, we see you. We're not only against that culture, but we also see the fact that the culture that you're against, you're still being influenced by because there's drugs and alcohol and sex and violence.
You're creating a binary.
Yeah, so you think you're in a binary, but really all you're doing is you're still influenced by those things. So we're gonna go even further and not do any of that and not be a part of that. You know, that was kind of like the mindset. And then eventually you have bands like Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, that were, you know, judged, like trying to say like, no, like anti-drugs, anti-alcohol, you know, no, you know, keep a clear mind so you have a clear mental focus of what you really should be opposed against. And that was kind of like that philosophy behind all of that. And so, you know, Straight Edge Sober, like to this day, has that kind of value behind it. You know, like, is it ethical? Is it moral? I think so. But it's also just about like, I think it's also because it's funny because you had that opposition then, but then you hear about like, so many bands that are around each other today where like people are like, I'm not straight edge, but my friend is, and we get along just fine. Like, and that happens now. Like, that's just is what it is. Like, some people are, some people aren't, some people are sober, some people like every little bit in between.
I think early on there's the feeling of like, is you get the same things from when people are like, grew up with trauma or abuse or toxicity or like whatever, like to compare it to something about like not even to compare it, but just what my original thought was that like for you to be straight edge and for you to be sober, we can't be friends. It's like when people, like I'm sure you've experienced this as vegetarian and vegan, is like you are diametrically opposed to who I am. And so like if you're not cool, I think people took it as if you're not cool with eating meat or if you're not cool with drugs and alcohol, then that means like you don't like me. So now you're my like enemy.
You're
in
my
some way.
Yeah, and that was it for a while.
But now that I see, not like you give me a lot of context for like both of you about the punk scene and the straight edge stuff. So now when I see that Scion in my neighborhood with a big old straight edge on their back windshield, I'm going to know a lot about that person. I have a context for them. Yeah, like in big letters. Like it takes up the whole back.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That made me curious about, well, going back to you being vegan.
Yeah.
What do you, have you heard of the vegan teacher?
No.
That old
She's
lady.
a woman on TikTok.
Enlighten me.
Mostly I was going to ask if you had heard of her, what you thought about her, but she's this person on TikTok, is a very controversial person who, she is a hardcore, like, dedicated vegan to the vegan lifestyle, but to an extent where objectively she's a little bit delusional. Like the biggest example I could give is she made a video comparing coming out as vegan to being worse than coming out as like homosexual. And like she straight up like she's like when you're vegan you're ostracized from your community, you know, like you could be vegan and you're living in a southern family that like loves barbecue, and she like legitimately believes like the things she's saying.
Like, I mean, I would say like for Mexicans, like yeah, but then again we had Morrissey in Southern California, so it's just kind of like being vegetarian, like like I want to say like in the 80s. Well, it was hard being vegan, vegetarian in the 80s, period. But, like, if you're coming out to your family, like, you know, I'm vegan or whatever like that, but you had your whole community, you had your clique, your crew to be like that because of Morrissey. Right. Because Morrissey was just influencing a lot of brown people back in the day. Just like, you should, you know, meat is murder. It's like, you're right. And, you know, but I'm just saying that because it's like, there was a slight ostracization for generations, you know, in Southern California among like Latina, Hispanic communities. When you're vegan in a brown family, but it wasn't to the extent of like.
You're homeless now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, good luck.
Exactly.
No, it was more just like, all right, good luck, fool. You got to find some food. Here, I got to, there's grass outside. You just eat that.
That was something I always thought was interesting too, because I always thought it was funny that Mexicans didn't try to invade veganism more, because a lot of like, you know, recipes that we've came up with that are derived from indigenous recipes started out vegan.
Yeah.
Like meat was never a main or it was never the main component of all cooking for indigenous people, and for you know, even after the Spaniards came. And since then, like the last 10 years, I've seen like a huge influx of like vegan Mexican food.
Yeah.
Sure. You know, one of the more popular, like shout out to our hometown in Baldwin Park, there's a Garduno's.
Hell yeah, Garduno's, dog.
The story goes that one of their employees was vegan, so she was never allowed to eat her. She always had to go somewhere specific to get food for herself. So they literally redid their entire menu. So they have their core menu, and then they have every single option, but now it's vegan.
Oh, that's what's up.
So they make like vegan nachos, asada burritos,
and it's
stuff
fucking
like
bomb.
It's amazing.
That shit smacks.
And that's the thing. For me personally, you know, I'm not vegan, but I've cooked for, you know, I started learning to cook because of our little brother. And I feel like where people falter when trying to come up with food, and the reason that non-vegan people are so opposed to eating their food is that they think that the goal is to replicate the physical aesthetic of food.
Yeah.
You know, trying to replicate this, like, it has to feel like a burger meat. It has to, like, cut like a steak.
The whole
and it's
imitation meat.
And I think when you stop trying to imitate me and start trying to replicate that experience, like flavor-wise, like that, the sensation you get from eating the food, that's when you get good vegan food. Because Mexicans are fucking bomb at making vegan food.
100%. You know, shout out to El Cocinero and Van Nuys. What's up? Like, that place is dope. Love that place. We'll backtrack just a quick second. That lady's crazy. 100%. Because my point was like, sure, I might have felt ostracized at the carne asada. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna eat. Because I feel like that today. Like, my parents are like, I'll go hang out and for like Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that, and they're like, oh yeah, your dad's gonna cook steaks and stuff like that. You can bring your own food. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. But it's, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, and shout out to, like, all the homies who did it, like, early on, like, the originators who, because, so now, you know, to what you're mentioning is, like, shout out to all the people who've been doing it for so, like, almost their entire lives, because it's their influence and it's their impact that have influence the either current generations or the generations following that are bringing up like an El Cocinero or I'm sorry, what was the name of the
El Cardunos.
El Cardunos, like places like that. I remember I was in Texas 2 years ago for a death metal festival called Wrecking Ball. Shout out Wrecking Ball. Shout out Frozen Soul. But my friend was taking me around to all these places out like in near the Dallas-Fort Worth area where she's taking me to like places where it's like Mexican food, but it's all vegan. And she gives me like history and facts about the places. And one of them, I forgot the name of the restaurant, but like one of them was like the restaurant was developed to be all vegan because the owner of the restaurant saw that their grandparent, their like I think it was their grandfather, like he was like his diet was really heavily affecting him, you know, and it was very much like, you know, heavy lard, you know, heavy pork based and all that kind of stuff, like heavy meat based. And they changed it all like plant based. And then they changed the menu of their restaurant based on the fact that they wanted to help out their grandfather. And I guess he's healthier now or whatever like that. But like, that was kind of the point of the restaurant is like, we want to have our culture and our flavors and our textures and tastes, but we want to make it so that way there's like it's a healthier alternative,
Right?
You know, and I think that plays a huge role in how we're approaching veganism now. Because that's the thing. Again, back to that lady, she's crazy. It's like there are plenty of people who are just like, if you don't eat meat, I don't like you. But then there are plenty of people who are like, dude, that's cool. That's what's up. Like, it's way more accepting.
It's interesting because a lot of what you're talking about kind of wraps around to like that whole idea of like not giving up your strength. So like this idea, it's like it's all propaganda of how we've been fed. Like, of course, how do you get people to go along with your agenda? You shame them, like you make them feel like they're a loser for not eating meat. Meanwhile, it's like the fucking meat industry is making a shit ton of money off of farming, and they need you to be eating. So like you're just like benefiting like the evils of capitalism by like,
oh yeah,
and it's like it's all this stuff that's fed into like, it's I don't know, it's like it's all weird like psyop propaganda of like of course these people that are different are losers, and you don't want to be a loser, like you want to be a cool guy. And
I don't know if it's whatever you psyop propaganda.
Cyan. Oh,
People are
yeah.
just saying, like,
Marketing? And what does marketing have? MK Ultra.
Whoa. No, you're absolutely right. Like they're shaming people into buying their product or their brand or their fitness routine.
Yeah, like I watch these brand designers that like do Photoshop stuff. I've seen people like rebrand
Yeah.
things as healthy things and like omit, like they made peanut butter cups into a protein.
Right.
Absolutely.
And they were like, oh, we just put natural, like there's no actual definition on what natural is, so we can write that on this product and be like, oh, it's all natural.
I was listening. I saw this video that this nutritionist posted about how certain items, certain food items are able to put 0 calories on the label because the the technical serving size is so small that you wouldn't get any, like the calories you'd get from it are minuscule, like the whole like 0 calorie cooking spray.
Right.
It's because the serving portion of that is like a quarter of a second. It's like,
Yeah.
And then like creamer too.
Yeah.
Like creamer, 0 calorie creamer. It's like, because you're only supposed to put like
That much
in your cup,
Yeah.
you know, but people, it's like you're probably putting, you know, a quarter of your own cup.
Also,
Thank you.
something that uses corn syrup instead of sugar can say that it's naturally sweetened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Big corn. That's a real
Yeah.
thing.
It's
Big
naturally
corn.
derived from corn, like
Yeah.
stuff
That's
like
the thing,
that.
Big corn.
Stupid.
Bro,
Yeah.
corn. I know. I'm so glad corn's coming back. I'm not joking.
I was a Slipknot guy.
So, for real?
Yeah.
That's what's up. I was not. I was vehemently against Slipknot in middle school
Stop.
because I was like, what is this, a gimmick? Years later, I'm like, damn, I was such a middle schooler. Like that was big middle school brain there.
Dude, we were just talking about earlier. We were talking about I have a track record. Josh said we know it's going to be popular by what Dominic doesn't like. Because I have a huge track record for like.
This man hates success.
What was
He's
it?
a mile away and he hates
Is
it.
that why you hate me so much?
There were so many bands that are like some of the biggest bands right now, like today.
Yeah.
Where like I heard a song come out and I was like, oh, Icky Thump, White Stripes are done. Like they're done.
He just likes to be wrong.
They're not a band anymore.
Wow.
Or like Foo
He's not
Fighters.
wrong, but at the same time,
Like
Ben, you're a wrong Ben.
Foo Fighters when Confession came out, I was like, oh, they're done. They're not going to be around anymore. They suck
Bro.
now. They're the biggest band in the world.
Compa.
have
The
you
Gorillas.
have you heard that like 100 instrument song that Dave Grohl made?
What?
He did this project where he played like 100 different instruments. He's playing them himself, and he's just like adding them all to one song.
That's how he started Foo Fighters.
I thought that was funny.
I mean, that's real.
Was that real?
That's how he started Foo Fighters. He was making music on his own. And
Oh.
then that's how he started the band.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
He was pulling a Prince.
Ooh, dude, Prince is so good. I love Prince.
Did you hear this story about Rick James and Prince?
Isn't that also a Dave Chappelle bit?
Oh, is it?
I mean,
Yeah.
No,
No. So I'm going to paraphrase this story, but Rick James was like the big star, right? Prince was coming up, and I think they got put on a tour together, and like Rick James hated Prince. Not a lot of people know this, but like Prince was one of the like keys to his success was that he used a lot of synthesizers. He was like a master at synthesizers. Like back in the day, you had to program, you had to find like the frequencies and program things. It was very tedious, like super hard, but he was really good at finding the sounds and programming synthesizers. So like he had all of his shit. And so like they had this competition going between them, and like Rick James hated him. And then one day, all of Prince's shit goes missing. Like all of his synths were stolen. And then they couldn't find out who it was, and then like a few months down the line, Rick James releases a new album, and it's like a big hit, and like there's some like sneaky sounds in that album, and then supposedly, after that album was released, somebody left all of Prince's shit, like delivered all of his stuff with a note that said thanks.
Damn.
What?
Allegedly.
I'm just thinking. I don't know how many stories you guys have heard about Prince, but I'm starting to think that dude had ADHD. Like he hyper focused. He was good at anything that he had a focus in. Like there's so many stories about him just challenging random people to sports and kicking their ass at everything. There's this huge story that was released after he died that he challenged Jimmy Fallon to a ping pong tournament.
The day that his son was born, or his child was born.
And
Wait,
yeah,
who? Prince's or Jimmy?
Jimmy Fallon.
That's some Rumpelstiltskin energy.
right?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking about all these stories I've ever heard about Prince, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that dude was neurodivergent.
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, look how he dressed.
very, very he like invented pansexuality, dude.
Yeah.
So, how do you grew up in the church?
yeah.
So how does that like? Do you have like feel like more traditional like Latino upbringing? I mean, you're from the Valley.
I'm
Grew up in the Catholic Church.
Do you have That's so funny. No, to me that's funny. It's just like you have a traditional Latino upbringing. I mean, you grew up in the Valley. Like you got 818 tattooed on you somewhere? Like no. I got like I mean I'm second generation. So my see here, my grandma, R.I.P. She was from Jalisco, and no, I'm sorry, she was from Sinaloa. My grandfather on my dad's side was from Jalisco, and and my grandmother. Cause I don't know who my grandfather is on my mom's side, but my grandmother on my dad's side. Born and raised in Texas. She was half Latina and I think half Scottish. She was the product of the homeowner just really liked the maid that one day. Like, yeah. So, and anyway, but like, so I have like that interesting mix. I'm sorry, I didn't know how else to put it.
She's Arnold Schwarzenegger's son.
Sure, yeah, in a way, yeah. But yeah, no. so that's kind of like built into like who I am now. As second, I guess I can call myself second gen because my parents were the first ones born here.
Right.
You know, all my uncles and aunts were the first ones born here, and it's because I've had so much time to like ask my parents and my grandparents questions. I asked like, why don't we speak Spanish in the house? And my parents are pretty fluent. My dad had to teach himself. And my mom, she's first gen, so she had like that typical first gen experience. I'm trying to figure out a word, but I can't.
I had a conversation with a friend, right? And he was asking a bunch of us, like, you know, people that are born first generation tend to identify as Mexican. If you ask a third generation, they're more likely to identify as American. Second generation people have kind of this weird in the middle. And like my friend's dad asked me, like, what about you? He was like, are you Mexican or American? And I remember in that conversation, I got upset and I was like, I just want to be me. Like, I just want to be an individual. I don't want to like.
I'm part of the human
I'm from nowhere,
race.
dog.
No, give me your
safest-
streets.
That's
Give
the
me your
safest
streets.
answer.
Give me your corner. Where you from?
From nowhere, dog. What?
He's all trying to get to know you. He's like, so where are you from, mijo? And you're like,
Nah,
I'm
he.
me.
I'm just doing me.
You do you. I do me.
No, I feel you on that because, like, I don't like if you ask me now. It's like, what, you know, are you Mexican? Are you American? Like, I remember way back, I did give you a complicated answer and just be like, well, I'm Mexican by, you know, culture and heritage, but I'm, you know, American by like because I was born here, you know, nationality. But like nowadays, I'm like, man, I don't even care anymore. Like I kind of am like in a moment where I'm just like, I'm just doing me, man. Like, but if you were like, give me the straight like kind of like you know, where are you from? Like, oh, you know, Silmar, California. Like, do you want to know? Like, oh yeah, like, are you Mexican? Like, oh yeah, I can tell you the whole history behind it. Kind of like what I talked about earlier.
That's something I always find annoying about like conservative like first generations because they're always like, how can you be something that you were like? Fuck, how do they phrase it? They're like, if you weren't born there, how can you claim that? And it's like, you also live here. Like, they try to create this like divide of like, I'm Mexican because I was actually born in Mexico. And it's like, okay, but you live here. Are you saying that you don't want to claim like, I don't know. I thought people would relate to that more. You guys
No, I totally
It
relate to
just
no,
sounded
no.
like you were gonna finish, but
Yeah, we're listening.
America's number one.
Ryan was about to say, go back to your country right now.
I'm already here, baby. I'm home.
No, that's what I'm saying. Where it's
The
like,
border crossed me.
how can you? What I mean is like, how can you strive to be a part of this country and then dismiss people like that?
Yo, yeah, I mean that's a huge identity politics conflict. That's why I'm really glad that you guys had this podcast because you just you can address that topic, you know, to as many people and you kind of get similar answers, different answers. But like, I think that's why like I agree with you. It's like I'm doing me, like because it gets so complicated. Because I've had those conversations so many times. Like your Spanish isn't that good, or like, you know, what's up? You don't have tamales on like Christmas. Like you're not really Mexican, or like you know, or like even like what you're vegan. You're not really Mexican, but then you run into a lot of vegan Mexicans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it gets really weird. But I agree. Like stop trying to create all these divisions. We got to be in this together. You know. Unless you're trying to cut in front of me in line and be like, hey, you know, we're you know, you're brown and brown. Like, no, I'm not about this right now. No.
I thought you were gonna be like, unless you're Salvadorian. Dude, there's so much beef between Mexico and Salvadorian.
I had no idea what that beef was until high school when I told my grandmother that my girlfriend was from El Salvador, and she's like, you better watch out. I'm like, what? Well, and that's when I found out about that beef.
Yeah,
I still don't know where it comes from. I just know it's a thing.
Well, you know,
It's the same thing with Americans and Mexicans.
yeah.
I should say, American white people and Mexicans.
Yeah.
They're immigrating in our country, they're taking all our jobs. The same thing in Mexico. It's like these Salvadorans are coming into Mexico and taking all our jobs.
That's awful.
I meet.
Salvadorian food.
They'll be like, oh, I know
Pupusa
pupusa,
bell.
but they better go back to their country. Like, it's the same energy. Definitely the same energy.
Dude, pupusas.
Oh, Loroco?
There's a place that sells vegan pupusas in Burbank.
With some nutritional yeast? Or
Oh, I don't know.
What is it?
I don't know. Like, but like, I like it.
Don't
Like,
ask. No
I've
questions.
asked, and they do a little special stamp too, like on
That's
the
cool.
yeah, it has like it says vegan on it on the outside layer. I'm like, this is dope. I like it. It's good.
I'm down to try that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like a fun detail for you, but for them, it's like, so I don't fucking eat those.
yeah.
Labeling them, fuck these.
It's good. It's good. That's my ideal day. I'll just go hang out in Burbank. I'll go to like the Mystic Museum, be all like goth cholo for a day, and then go get vegan pupusas.
I tried being vegan for like 6 days once for moral reasons. I was like, these fucking animals are being tortured, dog. And then I only ate peanuts and carrots for like a week, and I was like, I can't do that.
You did
Well,
no
that's
research. That's so funny. That goes back to what I was saying before. Is like part of the problem is people not understanding like what the goal is, because like our little brother before going vegan, he literally spent like a year researching it, and not just researching the general diets and where to go, but specifically researching based on like his physique and his routine of exercise, because he was in football at the time.
Sure.
What he would need to replace and what quantities in order to maintain like stuff like Donick talks about it a lot, but the intestinal
Gut flora?
the like bacteria in your gut. Well, I forget what the term you use for it is though.
Gut.
Gut biome.
Yes, I think you just said that, right?
I said flora.
Flora.
It's the same.
Fauna.
And stuff like that. And yeah, because people will literally they do the stop eating meat part, but they don't do anything. They don't replace it with anything, so they're just like starving themselves, and then like half the time they become anemic from it.
Yeah.
I did no research. I just woke up one morning and I was like, this animal's suffering shall not persist.
What I found it's interesting. It's it's not for everyone, but like foraging can become a thing. Like I found that a lot of meat substitutes and meat dishes can literally just like using different kinds of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like tacos, dude. Like so many different mushrooms are really good as taco replacements.
100%.
I would see. I haven't had like vegan tacos, and I love mushrooms, so I am so down.
Dude, it's all about the flavoring.
Yeah.
It's all about the
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like when you got good sauce going on, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And
Yeah,
my dad makes like I forget what kind of mushroom he uses.
It's just shiitake.
Yeah, and
Or
he
like
but he'll like slice it so they have like that curly like carne asada aesthetic, and then he'll marinate it with the same stuff, literally the same stuff you cook regular tacos in. It's cumin, lime, orange juice, stuff like that. And then
Sunny delight.
we brought it to we visited El Paso last year, and we brought like a small handful for our little brother because he's vegan. And at first,
and everybody
my uncle,
was like, yeah.
everyone was talking shit. Like our uncle who was barbecuing was like, "What is this?" And then he cooks it and he tries it, and fucking they ate it faster than he did. They ate his vegan food.
That's so funny.
He still got some, but it was like he had like 4 tacos, and those were the most he could get before it was gone.
You remember
that's
that
mean.
old man in Family Guy? He's like, y'all laughed at me. Y'all laughed at me.
What was it like growing up in a Catholic church?
Oh, jeez.
Was it like a?
I talked to my therapist about that. I am not joking. No, well, I'm sorry. You had a follow up.
Oh no! One, was it like? What was the culture of it? Like, was it like a Latino church? And then it's just like it's something that I relate to. I didn't grow up heavily in the church, but like when I was very young, my dad like became a born again Christian. So I know that like Catholicism is so deeply rooted in like a lot of predominantly the Latino experience. But for me, it was like all evangelical stuff. Like all the churches we went to were evangelical. So it's like I'm always interested to hear like the differences of like and how you grew up with that.
Oh, dude, like it's a whole thing. It's like, oh, you're Irish Catholic, you're Italian Catholic, you're Polish Catholic, you're
Right.
Polish Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox. Oh, you're, Latino Catholic, Mexican Catholic. Okay, like it's so embedded in me. Like I don't go to church anymore, but it's so embedded in me. Like I literally have an Our Lady of Guadalupe on my back.
Right.
I got candles everywhere. I got little prayer candles. I got rosaries here and there, and then I got little santitos, like the things that my grandma had, like these little like Judas or whatever.
They're like little homies, but for God.
Yeah, for real. Gotta collect them all. For real. That's what that is. But yeah, no, like, what was it like? I mean, for me, it was very performative because, particularly for me, because I'm growing up. It's not just Catholic, because my dad's a deacon of the Catholic Church. So in
Right.
our community, he has a higher standing. Well, not a higher standing. He's just he's being watched. There's a lot of eyes on him, and so because there's a lot of eyes on him, there's a lot of eyes on me.
Right.
And our family, and so I felt like I had to perform a certain way and be a certain way, and my attitude was, and to this day it still kind of is, I had like this mindset of just like, I don't like, keep it at arm's length, like I don't like this. I wanted to go against it. I think that's why punk was so attractive to me. It's like, oh, this is anti authoritarian, and that it includes the church and my dad. Like those two were just always tied together. So but it wasn't like, it's kind of funny. You say like Mexican Catholic, Latino Catholic, like that, like I didn't know what I was experiencing was that until I got out.
Right.
Until I'm like 18, 19, hanging out in different worlds, hanging out in different communities. I'm like, oh, I was in like a Latino Catholic world, and now that I'm out of it, it's like, oh, there's an Irish Catholic world, or there's a straight up other worlds in particular. like oh, you don't know, you didn't have this kind of
There's more
experience?
than two religions.
Yeah.
Or even just being Latino and like knowing people that aren't Catholic, like
Oh yeah, or like they're Protestant, evangelical, or whatever like that, like, or just no religion whatsoever.
were you, when you were a kid? Two questions. Like, well, first, did you believe?
Bro, I was so about it. I'm
Yeah.
not joking.
Really?
I was so about it. Like I was like, because I had such, when what is it? The Da Vinci Code came out. I was so passionate about, someone brought it up to me in high school, and they were just like, they were like using the book, and they're like, this isn't real and that isn't real and blah blah blah, and I was like, what? You mean everything I've been living is a lie? Shut the fuck up! I'm like, no. Like I was so mad about it, and I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, Dad, I was like, Dad, like the Da Vinci Code says this, and I was like, that's just a book, dude. That's just a novel. And then later on down the road,
Bible.
dude, the Bible.
That's real.
That's real, and then I'm in college, and then they're like teaching me the Bible, and they're just like, by the way, all of these are myths and legends. Like, none of these people actually existed. I'm like, all right, what? Like, yeah, bro, this is a book.
Here's a stack of other ones they didn't include.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Dude, I think I was in 8th grade. We were learning about Islam in like world studies or whatever. And like, it was just a line that my teacher dropped. Like she wasn't making a point, but she was like, oh, like learning about religion is very interesting. Like we were learning about Islam, and she goes like, even like Christianity, like I like to read the Bible. She said like, it's all fun. It's like a storybook. Like I like it. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's a book in which these are the stories, myths, and legends that you build your worldview on. And I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah, like when you meet someone that has zoomed out all the way, and you're like, I have a limited worldview. Like,
Yeah.
I have a friend who always talks about how his grandma I guess like Hanna-Barbera made like Bible cartoons.
I watched them.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she would play these and then put on like Ninja Turtles and put on like other regular cartoons, and so my friend just grew up being like, Jesus is like a cartoon character. You're doing getting all kind of crazy shenanigans.
He's on Sundays.
I would watch them in Spanish, and there was like a Juan Diego one, and then there was also one a completely different. Like it was Juan Diego one. Like it's like when they first found like the Virgin Mary and the image and everything in Mexico. Like there was that story, and then I also saw one where it was just like clearly like Catholic like pregnancy stuff, and it was just this girl that got pregnant, and there was like it was kind of like the ghosts of Christmas Past and Future type scenarios about her getting pregnant as a teenager, and I was like, oh, it's just another cartoon about teenage pregnancy that I get to watch. Yeah,
That's so.
that definitely affected me.
That is
Yeah.
the comparison, because the alternative is like teenage witches, and it's like it's the devil.
Was it a struggle for you once you kind of
Yeah.
had that awakening of like questioning your faith?
Yeah, and to this day, it still kind of is, because it's like, because I don't go to church. Like I'll go once in a blue moon, and I'll have my experience, but like, it's a struggle just because it's like I have an intellectual understanding of the things that are in front of me that is just like, well, how real is everything right now, you know? And so I kind of, you know, and I don't want to be disillusioned, but at the same time, because I've been raised with it for so long, because there was a moment where I just believe everything you tell me. Yeah, just, you know, and it was so part of my life that I'm just like it's hard for me to separate from it, because it was just, it's so ingrained in me. Like I had a professor of mine in grad school who talked about like she wanted to go learn philosophy, and she was going to go get her master's in philosophy, and she had it all set up and everything, but she had a similar situation with me, and funny enough, she's half Japanese, half white. Like she was raised in this kind of household, like very split, and so she struggled with identity as well. So her and I related like right off the bat, and she eventually, like, she cried. She couldn't put in the letter to go to, because she was basically accepted to go get her degree in philosophy. She wanted to study religion. And so she went back. She said, I'm sorry, but I got to go do this and that. And even though she rarely goes to church, I'm pretty sure she doesn't go. She's like, well, I got to get my kids baptized at least. And her husband agreed. And I'm like, all right, fine, we'll get the kids baptized. Like it's hard to let it go. For me, you know, I don't know about other people. Like, I know a lot of other people's like, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm out of this.
It reminds me of that episode of This Fool where they talk about how it's like, I think it was kind of a relatable episode. Essentially, like what's the cousin's name? Played by Frankie.
Damn.
God damn it.
Not Julio.
It was this fool. Sorry.
Yeah. But he's like learning about religion, and like
Frankie?
so he goes like hardcore into it at first. And then at the end of the episode he's wondering why they have to learn all these rules, and then eventually they get the mom to admit, well, I was just, or the sister was like, I'm doing it because for mom's sake. And then the mom was like, at the end the mom spouts out, I just did it for grandma's sake. And the grandma's like, I don't give a shit what any of you do. And it turns into that thing where it's like either it just becomes tradition and it's just like, this is what we do, why do anything else? And I feel like that's what makes it so hard to break out of it, is because it's like even if you don't want to do anymore, you do the bare minimum, because if you don't, then you're disappointing somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of disagree with, I think what you're talking about, I don't disagree with what you're saying as a premise, but I think it's a little bit different from like the holding, because coming from a place of like, I've always struggled with like my belief since the beginning, because the thing is like the difference was like I wasn't brought up in the church. Like We never went to church. And then one day my dad was like, we're going to church. And he was really into it. And one thing that I realized was that like I was like looking for my dad's approval. So I was like, I need to be saved. I need to be like evangelical. I need to be like born again. I was born again 3 times.
Damn.
The first 2 didn't take, you know. But like
Abort. Wait, no,
don't abort. But like I remember
he came feet first. Sorry.
I remember since I was a kid, like I don't know when we started going to church. I must have been like 3rd grade when it became a thing. But it was definitely like I wanted so fucking hard since I was a kid to believe in this stuff and to like live by the Bible and to like be a good person or whatever. And like I think even now, I think as I've come to terms with my beliefs and like I'm more into spirituality and I'm more into like just the openness of things. I remember I listened to a lot of Ram Dass.
Ooh.
Yeah, and like I remember one day
You're really in it.
I was driving and I was just listening to like a Ram Dass lecture and I just had it on and then I was like, oh, this is my church.
Oh.
Like it was like a click. I was like, oh, this is what my dad did.
Yeah.
Like this is just church.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And I think there is a bit of me that is still like kind of similar to what you're saying is like there's just still kind of this pull to like that old belief system.
No, I relate because I think I too was doing it because I wanted my father's approval. You know, that's why it was funny, but it's like for real, like I do talk to my therapist about this because it was like, why was I really doing this? Oh, I think I was just approval seeking, but it's so ingrained into like my identity at this point. Like it's kind of hard to let it go. So I hate to say it, but I'm like, yeah, I kind of do pick and choose. Like I can't align myself with like a lot of the political views of the Catholic Church. I just cannot.
Right.
Like y'all, they're crazy, man. Like the way they talk about gay people and trans, like just the whole alphabet mafia LGBTQ plus community. Like it just like screw that. Like and the way they speak of women, it's like, oh my god, you guys are ugh. Like it's like I get it. You want to have sex, procreate, but also women keep yourself covered up and stuff. It's like I these are sexual beings. Like, shut the fuck up. I don't know. But yeah, I just can't align myself with that kind of shit. But then when it comes to like certain aspects of the spirituality, it's like, there's something about this. This is kind of, because I did it for so long, I'm like, maybe there's something to it.
That was actually something that it was also a point when I was younger where I was just like trying to figure myself out. But that used to be a conversation I had with my dad a lot because he still is like a church going. Lately, he hasn't been able to as much, mostly because of his like work schedule and stuff. But for the longest time, he was like every single Sunday. And I think when he moved, I think after he got married again, they started going to Catholic church. Like they were going to like a full like Gothic architecture, like church, like a cathedral church. And at that point, I remember having to have a conversation with him of like, look, I don't dissuade God. Like where I am spiritually and this is where I was at then was just like, it's not that I don't believe in God or don't agree with, the points that you've taught me and raised me, but it's like, I believe in those points, but I think those points exist regardless. Like personally, and this is me at the time, is like, I don't think that you have to go to a place and follow, especially a place that has specific rules that makes living for certain people like uncomfortable by choice or by force. It's like I don't think that I have to do that in order to have this experience of like connection to love and community and like understanding, at the time, what you would describe as like good and bad and stuff. It's like I can just choose to live like that. It's like my favorite example of it was Ricky Gervais made a movie where he plays a man whose wife recently passed by cancer, so he's atheist. And one of the characters is his coworker that he debates with every day because she can't understand the concept of being atheist. And so she goes, well, if you don't believe in God and you don't believe in his rules, how come you don't like rape and pillage as much as you want? And he goes, I do. It's none. And she's like, I don't understand. He's like, and his friend's like, because he doesn't think like that. He just is a moral person naturally. Like,
Yeah.
I think in spiritualism or any type of philosophy or any religion, have you met somebody that you think like, oh, this person is actually like living by the word? Or like how do you feel about Christians or like Catholics?
I mean,
the Amish?
like, well, you know, teach their own. Please don't teach their own, but also like, if you're hardened to really impact someone's life to the point where you're making their life miserable, like by that I mean, like, say for example, you know, you're a Catholic planning to vote on or actively hating on like the LGBTQ plus community. It's like, dude, please don't do that, because like that doesn't align with what Jesus' teachings were. Or like, for instance, when we are like, so I had this professor who had like this thing's like, you know, the 10 commandments, but do you know the other 10? I'm like, I'm sorry, the other 10? What do you mean? And he wrote a whole book about it. And one of the things I thought was interesting was the storyline of in the Old Testament, he had the storyline going on. It's like, do not forget where you came from, and so respect outsiders, from, you know, people who are alien to your culture, to your community. You know, respect them, and because you know, the Jewish people, you know, they're led out of Egypt and they meander about the desert for like 40 some odd years, and they, you know, find Graceland, whatever. But like they, you know, there was this contract with God, God saying like, don't forget where you came from, because there was once a time where you were aliens in another world. You were outsiders coming into another place. Don't forget that, because there are going to be outsiders coming into your world, your, you know, culture, whatever, and you need to respect them. You need to have an empathy for them. And that was kind of like part of the other 10 commandments that my professor was getting at, because because that's written in there. And then what happens? You have a bunch of these Christians who are just being like, man, fuck these people coming in, taking our jobs and everything like that. It's like, wait, hold on, time out. You guys are so quick to bring up, Irish immigrants too, but then you're still like, no, fuck these brown people. It's like, whoa, come on. What do you, like that, like, it's there in your book. Like, forget not where you came from. You know, you were once immigrants too.
Right.
And then they come out and just like, no, I need this job. It's like, fuck off. Like, no, you don't. No, bring them in. You know, have them hang out with us. You know, like, suffer with us, I guess.
The church is against people who are like that too. Like,
Yeah.
The stance of the church, they don't like people who are hateful.
It's so funny because like the Catholic Church they're pretty much like pro-immigrant, but they still walk a weird fine line on that too. So I'm just kind of like,
they still need to make their money.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been listening to Christian radio, and I was just listening to a guy talk today about how, wow, I fucking lost it. Keep going.
You were talking about you're listening to Christian radio.
He was saying that as people who are non-believers. I've been listening to Christian radio, like I said, and the pastor that was talking today was saying that people who are non-believers paint. It's just so funny to hear the opposite side, because they say the same thing on both sides. He was saying that they'll make up a caricature of what a Christian is in their mind, and they'll hate that person. But like, if you talk to a Christian person, they're not like some like, we gotta get these, like, they're like normal people for the most part. You'll get a hateful person. There's bad seeds everywhere, but for the most part, I've never really talked to a Christian who was like that.
I mean,
Super bigoted, like ultra Trump supporting bigot. That's like a media.
The argument isn't that they're all like that. The argument is that the people that are like that are using that as a guise to hide, or to not only
Well, it's a fair
unify their community, but also to kind of defend their actions
I
and
get what
life
you're saying,
choices.
but the way that he was saying was like that this is a depiction that's been created by the media to like make us not like Christians. When the whole Christian thing is about being cool with everyone who's a sinner and trying to bring them in.
I think in theory that's true, and if that's your experience, like I can't argue with your experience, you know. And I've met Christians that are cool in general, but like, you know, in my own experience, it's like people are fucking Republican, and that along comes with that is like being pro-Trump. Along with that comes being anti-immigrant. Like,
Yeah, I understand
But it correlates, and then those people are more likely to have power in the country anyway. So it's like,
it's also just like the fact of like even just being Republican, like that means something because that is inherently anti-immigration. Like that is what the majority of the Republican Party pushes for. And like when institutions like Chick-fil-A and In-N-Out are Christian companies and they give money to Republican candidates, like that's what they're pushing. They might be doing it because they're like, oh, like they're Republicans, so they're like, we're anti-abortion, and that's the moral reasoning behind it. But along with that comes anti-immigration, and again, it's like there's the idea of like who's actually in church versus who calls himself a Christian, because the majority of the country identifies as a Christian.
Yeah, majority of the country, even people who don't identify as Christian, believe in some sort of God.
Yeah, I'm not arguing against that.
Well, unless you're Buddhist.
But it's also, just like it's not just where the money goes, but it is a lot of like the power majority is this is a Christian country. There's a lot of white supremacy in that concept, because it's like even if a white person doesn't identify or like doesn't go to church, they can still have these beliefs and identify with being a Christian because that's an American value.
they're a dry Christian.
Even if you look at like
pretty good.
sitcoms from the 90s going all the way to like today, it's not a explicitly Christian show, but often like a lot of the saving factors is when they're more darker episodes is like
What's the show?
like Scrubs, when they had that Christmas episode where he sees the star and he follows it to find that girl. There's heavily subtle Christian episodes. Christian values being ingrained in a lot of these, not specifically sitcoms, but like
I mean, you've had that though, like built into the infrastructure of media. Yeah, like not. But I mean, I was gonna go for more. I was gonna go for media because, like, why do you think we have ratings on movies? It was literally because a group of Christians came together and like, you can only show this in the movies, and that was like in the 1930s.
It's also just like listen. No one person is going to be correct about like. Again, I feel like.
I'm kidding.
I feel like what you're saying, Josh, is broad stroking the other viewpoint, and it's minimizing like the reality. It's minimizing the reality of like seeing very famous pastors on TV saying homophobic things, saying bigoted things, saying racist things. There's small churches that are protected, that are the whole Westboro Baptist Church, like. All of these things is like that's a real danger in this country, and that these are people with political power, and it's like that is what creates it's kind of like the whole concept of all cops are bastards. It's like, okay, I understand you don't like saying like generalizing all cops, but when you belong to a system that allows this to happen and that is not actively fighting against it
And protects it.
and that is protecting it, they might not allow it in their own church, but I don't see I could be wrong, but I don't see large movements of Christians combating these ideas. They might say like, oh, we don't believe that and we don't let those people into our church, into our community, but they're not doing. I don't see anything happening on a broad.
They exist. Like the Anglican Church is pretty.
the cheek is perceived attack, not.
Argue not with fools.
But argue with this fool. No.
Literally part of their thing is being like, people are gonna hate you. gonna talk all this shit about you. They're gonna say you're wrong. They're gonna say.
But we're talking about hurting other people.
Yeah, that's
We're
the
talking about-
distinction.
That's how they justify their thing and not be like, we don't need to defend ourselves. Like God will judge me.
So
Yeah,
that's
exactly,
where
yeah,
that,
and you
in
can-
there lies the problem.
But the thing is that's where interpretation comes in, because Martin Luther King, you know, I can't imagine anybody speaking ill will about him, but like he was turn the other cheek, right? In the face of adversity, turn the other cheek. But then you'll have people, you know, preach on the street, saying some wild stuff, like that might intermingle with like racism or some kind of homophobia, or
Yeah, sometimes they list it all.
yeah,
That's also
and
the
then
thing-
and then they're saying like, oh, I'm gonna turn the other cheek because you're coming at me, you're against me, so I'm also gonna turn the other cheek. And so like it's based on like who is taking that reference and then using it, you know,
There's
who's
also-
weaponizing it or utilizing it as a tool.
Right.
That's also a
Yeah.
thing about Martin Luther King's philosophies, because we've talked about it before, where there's people that use that as a goat for, not a goat, like a,
Scapegoat.
yeah, for dissuading or dismissing the acts of like the original BLM movement or the protests that happened congruent with rioting.
Right.
Not in the same, where they're like, Martin Luther King wouldn't approve of this. You know, Martin Luther King was nonviolent. You know, or like that story Dominic told about a British guy getting upset because he saw an MLK or Malcolm X shirt, and he's like, I hope, you know, you also have a Martin Luther King. He's like, that's the thing, is like Martin Luther King practiced nonviolence for his own personal sake, but he also was adamant about acknowledging, like, I don't believe in that for myself, but that does not mean that I don't understand why they're upset and why they're resorting to this. And if everyone suddenly switched to a nonviolent philosophy,
A not violent philosophy.
he stated like publicly that he'd be the one outlier to like talk about why, you know, not that it's necessary, but why it's an outcome and why it's deserving and why it's like these people aren't upset out of nowhere.
I remember going to I lived in New York, and my roommate was he and I were of the same mindset but different like methodologies.
Right.
So I was very nonviolent because I was just, you know, you go to school and everyone teaches you about nonviolence. It's kind of easy to be nonviolent, and that was his point to me, is that he goes, "Oh, dude, nonviolence is a leisure. That's a luxury. You know,
Yeah.
that's something very few people can actually do and accomplish. Oppressed people have to sometimes take action and take force on their own accord in order to get what they want, for their humanity to be recognized. So where sure, it might have worked out in certain circumstances, you know, in the civil rights movement, in other parts of the world, that was not going to work. You needed to grab a gun and point at the oppressor and say, like, get the fuck off my neck right now.
Yeah.
And it works. You know, so it's not, it can't work for everybody, but like that was his point to me. I'm like, oh, and that's where like I had to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
You know.
That's why I'm pro guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with.
I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with guns.
Yeah.
We should all get guns.
I
That's
think
what's
guns
up.
are silly.
I don't. I just, for the sake of this conversation, is like I don't want to project a misunderstanding on you guys, but I want to define like turn the other cheek for people, because I think a lot of people,
Oh my God.
when they use the term turn the other cheek, they mean like turn away from shit, like don't include yourself in that. But turn the other cheek is like you get slapped, you turn the other cheek so they could slap that one.
Yeah.
So like it's the idea of like you continue to show up and you continue to stand up and you continue to not allow yourself to be beat down. There's also a lot of like it's not ethics, but it's about like formalities of like what Jesus was doing, like those protests that he was doing. To turn the other cheek was like about being treated with respect as an equal. Like it's proper slapping etiquette or something like that.
The interpretation that was embedded in me, because a lot of people like this interpretation, was that turn the other cheek was to show you, or to show the oppressor what they're doing, is that you are dehumanizing the oppressed.
Right.
And so you have to stand up and you have to show them that their violence isn't right, but you can't show that to them with more violence, because an eye for an eye leaves two men blind.
Yeah.
So that was what was told to me, and that seems to be the most accepted.
I like that. I like that definition.
Yeah.
But it is very much like it is. You're still working towards something, and
Yeah,
you're still
yeah.
working or against oppression.
Yeah.
Like, you're still fighting for something,
Right.
and by other means. So
Right.
that was my thought on that.
Yeah.
I only brought this up to tell a story about a guy that I was like, this is the only Christian person I've ever met. Like, that truly I believe is like a Christian in his beliefs. Was like, it was my dad's friend Ivan when I was a kid. And he was like, I would go to church and they would like speak out against gay people. They would speak out against immigrants and stuff like that. And like, and this guy, Ivan, he was just always positive. He was like a cool dude. He was a Puerto Rican dude from New York, so he had that like swagger, and like, but he was always like, he would always be like, praise God, every day was praise God, and like, he even like was a big fan. He had kids that were really little, and he was like, that was when Bob the Builder came out, the show for kids. And he was like, I love this show. Like, Bob the Builder's like, he's a G, dude. He's like so positive. He's like, what's his motto? Can we fix it? Yes, we can. And they fucking work together and they fix. He didn't say fucking. I added that part. But he was always like, it was just like always, even just like being around him was.
Is this comic book Ivan?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that dude was dope.
So that's why I was gonna bring him up, because like he opened a comic book shop at one point, and I remember I was really into punk music. I had spiky hair and stuff, and like we visited his comic book shop, and he was like, he didn't say about like, oh, he just like never pushed like Christianity, like being a Christian or converting people, but the way that he would talk was like very welcoming, where he was like, I remember him talking to us in his comic book shop where he's like, it's really cool that you guys are into like this music and stuff and you're doing your thing, you're into art, you're creative. And he's like, that's cool. He's like me. He's like, my thing is comic books. Like, he's like, Spider-Man, that's my favorite comic book, because it's like, great power comes great responsibilities. Like, I'm responsible to God. Like, I'm responsible for being a good person and like doing right in the world, and like, and living according to my beliefs. And like, that's how he kind of, and he's like, so you'll find your thing kind of. And like, I even remember there was one time we went to, my brother Anthony told me this story. He reminded me of this story of like, we went to like, it wasn't Harvest, which was like a Billy Graham like gathering for young men, but it was another like gathering for young men, like, and they like have bands play, and then there's a bunch of sermons or whatever.
Juggalos.
Juggalos.
This is the gathering of the Juggalos.
Yeah.
Jinx.
I'm
No, I'm the one that
can't
said it. But
finish
finish the story. You got this.
No.
I believe in
But
you.
we are gonna punch you up now.
The blood of Christ was. fresh.
So we were at
There you
this.
Blood in Christ, blood out.
Turn the other cheek, motherfucker.
we were at this weekend for young men to like learn about God and stuff, and they were doing the thing where they're throwing shirts out to the crowd, doing the t-shirt guns and whatever, and like the hype man on the microphone is like they're in California, so he's like, come on, you guys need to reach the back. Like, you're not throwing hard enough. You guys are throwing like you play for the Yankees, and like,
then Maud Flanders died.
and Ivan got like really bothered by that he like, because he's like, he is a Yankee fan. He's from New York, and he wasn't even bothered that they're making fun of the Yankees. He was bothered. He got upset. He's like, that's not right. They shouldn't be saying they shouldn't be saying stuff like that.
Like negative.
No, he didn't.
Negative reinforcement.
He said that's not right. That he said they shouldn't be saying stuff like that. Like we're supposed to be here together. Like we're supposed to be brothers in Christ right now. Like we shouldn't be tearing down each other like that. And so he's like, I'm gonna go talk to him. And he literally like walked down the stadium steps and like walked up to the guy and like, I don't know what he said, but he had a conversation with him. But this is like those kinds of things about unity, about positivity, about like helping out people. It's like. It's the only example that I have had that I can think of somebody that is like living by the word of like living by the Christian beliefs of like trying to be a good person.
Well, and I think that's why you find a lot of people who like say, because it's all around the topics. Like for instance, like with hardcore, you find people like that get into straight edge and things like that, and like positive mental attitude because that's what you want to abide by. You want to do right by the world, and there's this music and culture that's kind of a part of that and influencing that and bringing that to bringing that to people's lifestyles. And like, on the same token, there's a lot of toxicity in there, just as much as there's a lot of toxicity in Christianity as well, But your point being is like there are people in the world that are just doing right and that are just like really, really like doing right and living by it and actually being outstanding good people. But yeah, we run into like some toxicity sometimes too as well. Like there is no perfect. There's
Right.
not one
Right.
single perfect person.
I think that
Except my mom.
becomes like
Except Jesus.
No, my mom. No, my mom, she probably will listen to this.
right. I think that's like I don't remember where I heard this from, but someone was talking. They're saying the same thing, but the phrasing they were using was like the difference between following Christian values and being a good Christian.
Yeah.
The distinction is like Dominic said, like living by the values taught by the Christian church versus like following the rules of Christianity.
Yeah.
It becomes like a kind of an ego thing of like, and it also, I think, traps people in this idea of like being Christian doesn't mean following the sentiment. Being Christian means doing what other Christians are doing, and it becomes like almost like a mob mentality, like having the house that you're supposed to have, having the family you're supposed to have, liking the people you're supposed to like, and not liking the people you're not supposed to like.
Yeah, there's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses in Christianity.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
It's a human thing too.
Yeah.
Even non-Christian people did that same exact thing. So. But this leads me to a question that I want to ask. I don't know if it'll get left in or not, 'cause it's kind of crazy. But so does that what's the solution there? Because like you're saying like religion's bad.
I'm not saying
Nobody's
religion is
saying
bad.
All right, relax.
Relax.
But I think religion's bad. Personally, me, Josh, the American, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Real
I don't know.
Josh, believe it.
Damn,
We're
that's
gonna
the
put
first.
that on a
That's the first
t-shirt.
Josh the communist
Yeah, I'm against religion.
topic he said.
And I don't think there should be any. But I do understand that those are people's beliefs and their cultures and their history and all kind of stuff. So I'm wondering where you fall in that, like because you're saying that people from this religion have bigoted views and they're homophobic and they're this and that. So I'm like, do you also believe religion should be gone?
I think what I was saying, at least only because I can't speak for everyone else, is like it's not the religion itself; it's how people have used it.
Yeah, I'm
Is
in
the
the same
issue.
mindset.
No, the religion itself is pretty. It has a lot of views that are pretty bad.
Well, the thing
I know, but that's not what we're talking about, or that's not what I'm talking about.
I think what you're getting at is just like anything. It's a tool that can be used for good, and it's a tool that can be used for evil.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
is paved with good intentions. Is the idea is like you want, because like a lot of the people who are like in opposition of LGBTQ rights or in opposition of immigration in the most backwards way, like they're just
That's backwards. It was really funny.
Sounds like a lawyer.
in the wildest of way, in the crooked thinking, the crooked logic, they're thinking and implementing these ideas and these philosophies and these laws because in their mindset they believe that there's good behind it, that it's going to lead somewhere to a better society.
And I think that's everyone.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is like, I don't think you can erase religion. I don't think you can erase spirituality. I don't think I don't think there's.
I think it's inherent to the human experience.
Yeah, there's something inherent to that, to the human, even if it's simply as a burial, as dumping somebody's body in the ground and having a whole like ritual behind that. Like, it depends on who takes it and uses it. It's like just a few minutes ago, we were all like, guns? Yeah. Okay, cool. But at the same time, it's like, they could be used for good, they could be used for evil.
Yeah.
I mean, the intention is to like harm or kill something, but like to what, I always go back to the quote that God said to Bender in Futurama. It was like, good and bad are just words. It's what you do. It's like, what is that supposed to mean? It's like, no, for real. It's like, it's what you do. Like in the great cosmos and the great big picture of things, you just gotta do what you're gonna do, and you never really fully know what the outcome is going to be. And intentions can sometimes be askewed, but you gotta try.
So you guys are pro-religion.
I don't think it's.
It's a
It's
loaded question. It's a loaded question.
There's no
because
binary, Josh.
I will say no. You know what? I think because I'm like, I think because like I would be put in the spot there because I do have the credentials. I guess I'm pro-religion, but I'm very much against like people using it for evil.
Because like the reason I'm not like answering so hard against it either is because like people get dogmatic over cell phones. You think like that getting rid of religion is gonna fix the issues humans have over like needing their life validated by other people? Like some of them want power, but some of them just want validation. As you exist in a different way violates their perception of how the world should work.
That's pretty good.
This entire time, all I've been thinking about is bass backwards. Attorney at law.
Attorney at law.
Have you been discriminated against for your dietary beliefs? Bring it back.
Believe in Jesus, but
But don't believe in soybeans? I don't know.
yeah,
was trying
I
to make it
mean,
That was a good point. My God, the amount of people who get at me for having a Samsung,
Yeah.
like for a Galaxy S20,
you know about Samsung?
Galaxy S22 or whatever.
Dude,
That's
I
also-
tell-
Made it this far.
I
That's
tell
the
that
thing
story all the
that I
time.
have issues with.
You said your thing.
I said ass backwards.
Yeah, you already did it.
Backwards?
Go.
Hugh answered his question first. We're doing final thoughts. My turn.
I haven't said final thoughts.
Yes, you did. I heard
No,
it.
I didn't.
All right, guys, this isn't the time or place.
Go.
This literally is the time and place.
You started fighting.
I forgot what I was saying.
I was saying about I was trying to make you guys choose a side and stop pussyfooting around.
Right. Yeah, I kind of yelled it as a joke, but the point of this wasn't to create a binary either or. It's just that's the whole thing. Is like understanding is about context, not about decisions.
Yeah, I mean, my whole belief system is just based off of like helping your community, because this whole thing is there's a lot of benefits to religious and spiritual beliefs, and there's like literally scientific studies that says prayer is beneficial to humans. Like there are things about like the Book of Psalms. Like there's a lot of scripture that is, you don't need to get your morals from a book, but there are things, just the same way I listen to Ram Dass, and like he just has these little stories that like I kind of use that as a reminder or to change my perspective a little bit on certain things. Or I am influenced by these things, and I think there is a lot of good to be had from there. But it's when you use these tools to create a political machine that harms people and harms people in general. Because it doesn't matter if you believe in a religion or if you're a nihilist, if you're an atheist, if you believe that nothing matters. My belief, from the perspective of like nihilists say that nothing matters, so just do whatever you want, is like, yeah, nothing matters, so that means that everything matters. Nothing matters, so that means that we should be taking care of each other. Like, if nothing matters, that means that all of this stuff is all we have. So in that sense, we should be looking out for each other. There's no reason to be bringing harm to others. Historically, if we've come to survive by there's no food competition, there's no shelter competition. There shouldn't be shelter competition. There shouldn't be food competition. We have enough to provide for everybody, and that's what we should be doing. So, like,
There's shelter competition in heaven. So I don't know what you're talking
Bro, have you talked to some of those Seventh-day Adventists, man? That's like, I got my own planet and like my own little mansion on the planet. Like, yeah.
Ooh. You live in the cumulus cloud? Nice.
Hey, I live in.
way to land the plane, Josh.
You don't understand nihilism.
Okay, well, you could
Yeah,
tell us
you
about
need to read
nihilism
some more
next week.
Camus, bro. Come on.
Ray Dog,
What's up?
thanks so much for being here. It was a pleasure. It's good to see you after all this time.
I know.
Yeah,
I can't believe we talked that long.
Yeah, and that's
And
We
I
need to
can't
keep-
believe that only this much was put in the podcast, though. But
Do you
30 minutes.
where can people follow you? Do you have anything you want to plug? Any projects?
my handle is Punk Monk Ray. That's punk_monk MONK _ Ray. I do a lot of concert photography. I go to a lot of hardcore and punk shows still, even though I'm 35. God, I'm so tired. And I guess people still like me on TikTok. So
Check out his
I mean,
TikTok. That fucking suicidal tendencies bit.
That was
Gold.
Oh my god,
I love
it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's about it. That's what do I plug? I don't know. Be good.
Your finger starts glowing.
Be good, Elliot.
Be yourself.
Well, if you made it this far, I mean, it's been such a long episode. I thought of this 2 hours ago. But what's your favorite punk song? Mine is the, what is it? United States of Whatever.
That's a good one.
United States of whatever.
Especially that Mark was
Oh,
like,
my
and then I
favorite
hit
punk
up
song?
Kiki, and she's like, yeah, whatever.
That's a good song. My favorite punk song would be Echo Park by Society's Parasites. I
Hell yeah.
love that song.
I'm surprised I know that. Just because you're way more into it, you like picked a song I happen to know, and it's like, that's a really good song.
It is a good song, yeah.
My favorite punk song is "Dead Man Walking" by the Nerve Agents.
Ooh, good choice.
It's about being sober.
Oh.
Nice.
I mean, it's not about being sober.
Oh my
We'll get
God.
into it. It's about somebody that's addicted. It's about an addict.
My favorite.
It's a little
song
judgy.
Is "Both Human" by Fulsa Doom.
Ooh, what?
Did you Google that right now?
Favorite punk song.
I had to remember the name of the band.
Okay, because I
You like
saw
at
you
the
like
drive-in.
peeking at your phone.
Is that the drive-in punk?
What is the
Not really, but go for it anyway.
Adjacent-ish.
Could be.
Post-hardcore, I
Just
guess.
pick a Ramon song.
No, go for it. Go for
I
it. Go
don't
for
even know the
it. I respect
Ramones.
this.
One Arm Scissors. Is that a song?
One Arm Scissors, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One Arm Scissor.
That's a good song. That's don't get me started on Mars Volta. I got stories.
And we won't. See you later, everybody.
Don't fly.
Fly.